Sounds like a lot of...
Hoopla!
Sounds like a lot of...
Hoopla!
Sounds like a...
Hoopla!
Hey, what's the hoopla, everyone? It's the award-winning commentator. And let's take a trip down memory lane. Back to the 90s, back to where it all began. Back to the fads that just revolutionized and were icons for this generation. I was born in 1991, I was a 90s kid. And this is a series where we use guns with the word 90 in them. The P90, the P90, the CM901. Either you guys send in gameplays, like Accept a Donald, thanks for your MOAB, man, I really do appreciate it. Or maybe I'll get some gameplays and we'll put it up here. But in this series, you guys will take a trip down memory lane back to the fads that just revolutionized this generation. Let's kick it off with the Beanie Babies revolution. This fad, everyone had a Beanie Baby. You were not anybody if you did not have a Beanie Baby. My sister, my mom, and I were all bitten by this bug. We went to the Hallmark stores and just bought them all out. You go down to my basement right now, we have a huge collection of the Beanie Babies. I remember when McDonald's finally jumped on this revolution. They started making the Happy Meal toys, these small little Beanie Babies, and we would go there just to get the Beanie Babies. The thing I loved about the Beanie Babies were, one, they were just a great gift for a birthday party. Pretty cheap, about $5, $10 back in the day. Able to go buy a few, put them in a birthday present or whatever you want to call a bag, and send it in, and people loved it. The great thing about this as a marketer, as a graphic design standpoint, where each of these Beanie Babies had a description to them. They had a story behind them. So this made the consumer even more appreciative of what the Beanie Baby meant. The big selling point was adding a birthday to each Beanie Baby. There's 365 days of the year. I'm pretty sure there's more than 365 Beanie Babies, but each Beanie Baby had a birthday of that year. Mine was Nanook. That thing was the greatest Beanie Baby by far ever, but I remember the time we started going with the first Beanie Babies, Chocolate the Moose, so on and so forth. These Beanie Babies just revolutionized and were one of the greatest fads that came out in the 90s. The next thing were one of the first video games that really were handheld. These were started over in Japan and Bandai Japan, and it was Tamagotchis. You guys have to remember Tamagotchis. These are the little things with 3 little buttons. Really small, like a circular thing with either an alien creature, an object, an animal, just something. And it was your job to be the parent and just to give this person life. If they had to go get exercise, go heal, had to go to the bathroom, you had to do it. It's basically teaching kids what parenthood was, but this made a lot of bad parents. I remember times where you got a little pencil, you had to go get a mechanical pencil, flip over the Tamagotchi and hit the reset button because you did something wrong. These things required a lot of attention and were kind of annoying. I remember going back to elementary school and everyone had them clipped to the back of their backpack. These were Tamagotchis, these are just how they were made. And it's interesting, if you look at these bubbles popping up right here, all the stats about how they sold 40 million units worldwide, 12 million units in Canada and United States and Japan. I mean, this just revolutionized video games. Now today we're looking at Android games, iPhone games, and everything's all like that. But Tamagotchis were where it all started at. The next fad we're going to dive into is one of the greatest games that ever came out on PC. And these were the whole thing about the 90s. Games were not on Xbox or PS3. Those things were still in people's mind being developed. Games came back on CDs. I remember games like Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world's Carmen Sandiego? Backyard sports, backyard football, backyard hockey. I bought them all. But the most iconic game besides The Sims was Oregon Trail. You go back to elementary school, they give you, at least at my school, they gave us computer time. We'd have it one time during the week, usually on Thursday. We would go there, and if you guys remember me, that's how I came up with the word award-winning. My password on the computer was A-Ward, and whatever year I graduated. It was just pretty funny. But Oregon Trail was one of the greatest computer games because you always had this excuse if someone said you were playing it too long. I'm playing in the name of research. And the craziest thing about this game is actually was developed in a college, and they were all doing it for the same research standpoint. The game actually came off of Yukon Trail, and then Yukon Trail went right into Oregon Trail. And Oregon Trail was a game that had everything. You start on the East Coast, you're trying to get all the way to the West Coast for the gold rush, or just to get somewhere in Oregon or Washington or wherever you want to get. But very few people finally made it all the way. It was not about the whole destination, it was about the journey. It was about the journey going in your wagon and having this scroll side, this pretty plain 2D graphics that would not live up today. I remember when Oregon Trail 2 came out and how the graphics were so much better, more improved, but the game just lacked it compared to the classic. The classic actually came out in 1971. You think about this game coming back in like the 80s or the 90s, but came back in 71, which is just pretty mind-boggling about video games and where they have gone from here on to today with this 2012, 2013 coming around. My favorite part about Oregon Trail had to be shooting the buffaloes, hunting. I remember times where you go in school, and this was the only time guns were allowed in school was when you're playing Oregon Trail. You go there, a lot of buffaloes are running by, about 70 to 100, and you just put the bullets in, you take them all out. And the worst thing about it, after you shoot 70 to 50 or whatever it may be, you realize you can only pick up 8 or 9, so you wasted all those bullets. You go back in the wagon, you see that Little Len or Big Dan or someone like that accidentally had a gunshot wound, John McCain style, shot his partner walking with him, then you're down one person. The thing I don't understand about Oregon Trail is, why was there a journal? I don't think anyone ever journaled in it. It's not one of those games that you play like an MMO or RPG. It's something that's a long time, but it's pretty iconic that these things, Beanie Babies, Tamagotchis, Oregon Trail, were just some of the greatest things about the 90s. And we're going to dive more into that, guys. If you want more of Back to the 90s, just let me know in the comment section below. Hope all is well. And remember, what is above your head is below his feet. Thanks for the gameplay, except the Donald. Great MOAB, man.